Awesome. All right. Well, welcome everybody to this one-stop webinar. My name is Kate Davis. I have the privilege of serving Samford as the freshman recruitment coordinator and recruit East Tennessee and Northwest Georgia. I would love to welcome Nikki Bradbury to this to lead y'all through everything. She is the director of student retention and the Samford One Stop, so she's going to have a lot of great information for us. About everything that is about to happen with bills and everything that you'll need to know as we get closer and closer to starting the school year. So, Nikki, thanks so much for being with us today, and hope y'all enjoy our message.
Yes, thank you so much, Kate. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm looking forward to being able to go over these things with you. I know some of you have already attended Bulldog Days, so this will be a bit of a review, but hopefully with a little more detail. And for those that are coming to our late orientation session, hopefully this lets you get a bit ahead. Before we get started with the presentation, though, I do want to mention a few quick notes. This session will be recorded so that we can share it with everyone after, and even those that weren't able to attend. So we just want to make you aware of that. Also, we are sending topic-based emails out to complement this presentation and those that we've already provided through Bulldog Days and other events. So please have your students on the call. Please go ahead and make sure you're keeping a close watch on your Samford email so that you can receive that important information from us. In the coming month, now that we've covered most of our main topics, we will be reaching out specifically to students who are missing items so that we can help you all along through the process. So again, just know that if the One Stop is emailing you, it is usually either very important information or a call to action. We try not to send anything that's not necessary. So please keep watch for those emails. I also want to mention for today's presentation specifically that our chat is disabled. And that's just so that everyone can focus on the presentation as a whole. In a moment, I'm going to provide our contact information. And so certainly we want to answer your questions. And if you have those after the presentation, you can reach out to us in that way. That way, again, you can fully focus on the presentation and the information I'm sharing, but certainly have the opportunity to have follow-up questions, just not within the chat here through this session. And as we're going through this information, please know that I do know we are just a little under a month out from the first day of class, and shortly thereafter is the payment deadline. So I know if you find yourself hearing the things I'm saying and realizing there are still some boxes that are not checked, it might lead you to feel a bit worried or panicked, but please do not worry. We still have time. Yes, we're racing the clock, but we are here to work with you and for you. And so we want you to know we've got this, you've got this. And with that said, we'll jump right in. Again, my name is Nikki Bradbury. I'm the Director of Student Retention in the Samford One Stop, and the Samford One Stop is here to help students take care of the business of being a Samford student. So essentially, we're here as the storefront or the first people that you interact with on behalf of our student accounts team, as well as our financial aid processing team. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We're located in Ingalls Hall on the ground floor. We're just below the admission team, so you should know right where we are. And you can email us, call us, or stop by with or without an appointment during those hours that we're open for us to assist you. And it is our busiest time of year. We have changed some of our messaging just to remind folks that we appreciate your patience so much. We typically strive for an immediate to 24-hour response time, but this time of year, we do allow ourselves 48 hours. So if your call is not answered immediately, please do leave a voicemail once you press through to your student's one-stop advisor and know that we will get back in touch with you. And of course, if you're emailing, we appreciate your patience in allowing a little more time to respond, but we will follow up with each of those emails and each of those voicemails. And of course, we welcome you here during the day while we're here. Our goal is to make sure that we serve you well. We help with lots of things. Samford IDs being one of them. For those that have attended Bulldog Days, you already have your Samford ID in hand, but we know that those can sometimes be misplaced. So if it's not with you when you get back to campus, please stop by the One Stop and let us help make a new ID for you. We also do help with our student accounts. We make sure that you know when your statement's available to you, how to review and understand that statement. and those are coming out pretty soon for the fall. We help with payments, even outside payments like 529s, as well as offer payment plans here through Samford. And for those that are needing additional assistance beyond maybe scholarships that have already been received through the admission process, or any type of payment or outside payment or payment plan setup that you might be using, we do assist with financial aid. We make sure that you understand what applications to complete. We help explain those sources of aid, including outside sources like VA if you qualify, and help you get through those processes so that you can hopefully have access to the best and most types of aid that you're eligible to receive. And then probably where we're most helpful to our students and families is in helping them compare that statement or account to their financial aid to see how those ends meet. And sometimes there's enough or more than enough once everything's complete. And we certainly are here to make sure refunds get in our students' hands so that they can use them for other educational and miscellaneous expenses, as well as for our students and families who find themselves with a gap, as we call it, a difference owed and needing some help bridging that gap. We have some additional options through the One Stop that we can help with. And also, there are some other miscellaneous financial matters that we are here to serve you and assist you with, and we'll talk about those too toward the end of our presentation, specifically always wanting to make sure our students and families know that we offer tuition insurance. If you know that you're coming into the semester with a certain circumstance that might mean you're at a higher risk of having to withdraw, this is really something great to consider. But also, we know that there are unexpected circumstances happening all the time. We wish that was not the case, but it is. And so it's really just a great resource for us all to consider. Because as enrollment changes are made, as students withdraw, it does impact their satisfactory academic progress, SAP as we call it, which we'll talk about, and in turn has some financial implications depending on how it happens and when it happens. And so again, we just want to make sure that you're aware of those things up front and can take action as is best for you in your household. We have a great team here to help with all of these things. You can see their contact information on the screen. In addition to myself and our receptionist who greets you in person and helps answer our phone calls coming in to direct them to our one-stop advisors, we also have our administrative assistant who's answering all of our one-stop emails and connecting students through email to their one-stop advisors. And then we have our 4 one-stop advisors. And you can see their contact information there on the screen. Each of our students is assigned a one-stop advisor based on the first letter of their last name. So you can see which one there you pair up with and go ahead and make note of that email address. If you're not already reaching out and in contact, we certainly encourage you to do so as needed, especially as we go through this upcoming month and get you here and ready for the fall. All right, so as a parent, if you are reaching out on behalf of your student, we want to go ahead and encourage your student and have you encourage your student to complete their FERPA agreement. We do have to abide by FERPA, the Family Educational Rights to Privacy Act. It is a federal act. It's similar to HIPAA that we're all familiar with through the medical field. It just protects our students' records, academic, financial, conduct, etc. And so while we here in the One Stop know how involved our parents are, especially with the financial piece of this experience, and we certainly do want open conversation with you to help you and your student. We are bound by this act. So we would, again, just encourage your student to log into their My Samford portal, follow those instructions you see there on the screen, complete their My FERPA agreement, giving us permission to speak with you or whomever they designate, so that if you need to come by or email or call in on their behalf without them present, we can still have a full conversation about their financial matters, whether that's their student account or student financial aid, or how they compare, or other things that we'll talk about today. So just know that we are here to talk with you. We want to, but we will need that agreement completed in order to have a full and thorough conversation. Beyond just talking about their financial matters, we know that you'll want to take some action, and they will want you to as well, right? They're going to want you to be able to log in and help make payment or set up payment plan for them. And so in order to do that, they will also need to set you up as an authorized user. So students who are on the call today, just know that in addition to logging into your My Samford portal to complete your FERPA agreement to give us permission to talk with those that you designate, you'll also want to log in through your My Samford portal to link to the financial portal to follow those prompts that you see there listed on the screen in order to designate your authorized users. Your authorized users will not only receive that monthly email noting that the statement is available for review, but they'll also be able to log in to the financial portal directly on your behalf. And like I said, be able to see that information there on your student account and take action on it, whether that's making a one-time payment or setting up a payment plan, or just to have in front of them as they're talking with your one-stop advisor. So it's sort of a two-step process in the one-stop, completing your FERPA agreement and setting up your authorized user so that the person helping you financially can talk with us freely and we can talk with them freely about your financial records, but also so that they can take action as an authorized user. And if you have any trouble getting to the FERPA agreement or setting up your designee as an authorized user, please don't hesitate to reach out to your one-stop advisor. Your one-stop advisor is your primary point of contact here in the one-stop, and they're here to help with those things. All right, so we all know now that the student accounts are up and running for fall. If you log in through your My Samford portal to your financial portal, you'll be able to see something that looks very similar to what's on the screen, showing your account activity for the fall. You should now see charges for tuition and educational fees, like the university fee or maybe a course-related fee, as well as your dorm room and your meal plan if you're living on campus. If you already have been working with us to have payments made, you may start to see those show up as well. And if you have completed financial aid processes and know that you have aid, whether that be scholarships or grants and or student loans, or maybe a parent loan, which we'll talk about in a bit, you should see that listed in your authorized aid, or at least at the top of the screen where your financial aid is listed, so that you can kind of compare those total charges to those total credits, so that you can see your estimated aid and then ultimately see sort of what's outstanding. If you have any questions about your bill as you're reviewing it, you can reach out to your one-stop advisor and they'll be happy to review that with you and make sure that everything is accounted for. I will say that if you do have outside payments, whether that's a personal payment that you're making or some additional scholarships coming from outside agencies, or maybe a 529 payment that you're going to use, we do want to go ahead and encourage you to begin sending those in. And you can see the address where you'll send those payments there on the screen. We ask that if it's an outside entity like a scholarship agency or your 529 holder, if they'll put a cover letter with that check, just noting your name and your Samford ID, it will help us be very efficient in making sure that we quickly get that posted to your student account for you. If you're making a personal payment, you don't have to include a cover letter unless you'd like. We'll make it a bit easier on you. You can just include your student's full name, as it is here at Samford, and Samford ID number on the memo line of the check or cashier's check. We are receiving those payments daily and processing them daily. So if you suspect that something should already be here with us and you're not seeing it on the account, certainly reach out to your one-stop advisor and we can begin to sort of track down those funds. But if you were waiting on specific time or more information to have a scholarship agency send in a scholarship check or your 529 holder issue that payment, you can hopefully now go ahead and do that since you're seeing your students' charges and information there on the bill. But if there's any question or concern, please definitely reach out to us. If for some reason one of these payments is going to be coming in behind the September 2nd payment deadline, which is fall's payment deadline, please just reach out to your student's one-stop advisor, let them know, and they can make note of it. Again, we are here to work with you. I feel like we're very gracious, and we certainly don't want to penalize you for things that are outside of your control. So as long as we've got some confirmation of those things, even if they're not here, we can make note of that and work with you until all of that is here with us and applied to your student account. I will say that 529s tend to take the longest to process and get to us. So I do encourage you again to go ahead and make the request for that payment if you've not already, so that there's plenty of time for them to issue that payment and for it to make its way through the mail to us. We do offer payment plans here at Samford. We have a 4 installment and 5 installment payment plan that we have available for the fall semester, and both are open now. Our fall payment plan with the 5 installment option will be closing on August 5th, so that's very close. I know a lot of people were waiting to sign up for that payment plan until all of their financial aid was in order, and that's understandable. But I do want to remind you that the 5 installment payment plan, which has a $100 enrollment fee, which is a one-time enrollment fee for the semester, as well as 20% down, and then 4 remaining payments, each happening on the 5th of the month monthly, at 20% of that outstanding balance as well. Again, that will close on August 5th. So if you are wanting to sign up with that lower down payment, we do encourage you to go ahead and do that before it closes out. But our 4 installment payment plan will be open and available through September 2nd. So payment deadline day, you can still sign up for the payment plan until end of business day on September 2nd. And that one also has the $100 enrollment fee. That's a one-time per semester enrollment fee. And you'll pay 25% down upon enrolling. And then you'll have 3 remaining monthly payments, each at 25%, and each due on the 5th of the month. You can sign up to have that payment automatically drafted out of an account that you assign. But if you choose not to do that, just remember to log in and make that payment before that 5th of the month deadline each month, so that there's not a late payment fee added to your student's account. This payment plan option is available each semester. Students and or their authorized users, whoever is signing up for the payment plan, must do that each semester. And with each sign up each semester, again, there's a $100 enrollment fee. So a lot of times headed into the spring term, we'll have students or their authorized users say, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I had to sign up again. I thought when I signed up for the fall, it would carry over, which is an understandable thought, but I just want to go ahead and share that now, even though our focus today is fall, that when the spring semester comes around, you'll have to sign up again for the payment plan if you're utilizing that to help your student complete his or her bill. All right, but for our families who maybe are not making an outright payment, or their scholarships and other outside payments are not enough to complete the bill, and the payment plan is just not a feasible option, or maybe they're going to use the payment plan but are wanting some additional support as well, then we are certainly here to help with financial aid. That is my area of expertise and where I've spent almost 25 years. And so it's something that's near and dear to me, because I know how important it is to our students who do need additional financial resources and support to complete their educational goals and to earn their degree. So just know that your application for admission is and was your application for entering scholarships. All of those have been awarded, and so we congratulate you and your parents as well, who are helping you pay for college, or whomever you have helping you pay for college. We congratulate all of you because we know it's a huge help. We do want to note that you will have opportunity to apply for additional scholarships along the way here at Samford. As you progress through your program, you'll begin to receive emails from your area, your major department, letting you know of additional scholarship applications available to pursue. Typically, those emails come out sometime in the spring semester and are intended for scholarships to be awarded for the upcoming year. We recognize that costs typically go up annually. They certainly have in more recent times. And so it's Samford's effort not only to give you the opportunity to feel rewarded for your academic progress, especially when it's very successful, but also to help offset those cost increase. And so those scholarships, if you apply and are awarded, can be stacked with your entering merit scholarship. So I hope that's an encouraging word for you today, as you're not just thinking about the fall, but beyond as well. Again, as I said before, we do work with outside entities who provide financial benefits or financial aid to students. Specifically, we work with Veterans Affairs. So if you, as a parent, are a veteran and have designated your benefit to your student, or if you, the student, are a veteran and have benefits, we want to first thank you so much for your service and assure you that we are here to work alongside of you and in partnership with Veterans Affairs to make sure that those VA benefits are processed If you've not already had your student obtain their certificate of eligibility and upload it through our veterans webpage, please reach out to your one-stop advisor. Let them know that you're wanting to use those VA benefits, and they will help you know how to gather that certificate of eligibility, upload it to us, because that's really our prompt to begin interacting with the VA on your behalf to request those benefits be processed through and either paid directly to you or paid directly to Samford on your behalf, depending on the benefit. And as it says there on the screen, we are very proud to be a yellow ribbon school. So I always want to take a moment just to mention that if you are receiving Chapter 33 benefits, you can know as an undergraduate student, we are a yellow ribbon school. And so while our costs typically exceed the annual VA benefit cap through that chapter benefit, we will use yellow ribbon to help make sure that the rest of that tuition is covered if you have a 100% eligibility remaining. So again, talk to your one-stop advisor about that. They certainly can share more information if that applies to you. And then beyond these things that I've discussed, really the most important application when it comes to financial aid is the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, and it must be completed annually for the upcoming year. So if you've not already visited studentaid.gov and created as the student, a student FSA, federal student aid user credential, we encourage you to go ahead and do that if you're interested in having your eligibility for state and or federal aid evaluated. Again, the student goes to studentaid.gov, creates credentials to log in, and starts that FAFSA application. Of course, parent or whomever is helping can sit right alongside of them, because once they list that individual or individuals on their FAFSA as a dependent student, it will send an email to those individuals to be able to log in as the parent, the contributor, as they call it, and complete the remaining portions of that FAFSA. Once the student and the contributor or contributors have electronically signed and submitted the FAFSA, then we will receive it within about a week or so. Once we receive that FAFSA, we're going to email your student's Samford email account to walk them through those next steps. Sometimes we have to ask for additional documentation on behalf of the federal government just to ensure that all the checks and balances are in place and that things are being processed accurately. So it's really an internal audit of the Department of Education as well as Samford. So I want to hopefully give you that encouragement and relief that if we're asking for a copy of tax documentation or a copy of a social security card or something of that nature, it is in no way an implication or implying that that you've done anything wrong at all. It's just a required and chosen at random every third transaction internal audit. But we'll help you get through that. We'll make sure we're taking care of those very important private documents and getting you through that process. And once we do, then we'll email your Samford email account again and let you know that you have a financial aid package available to review. And you can see an example of that on the screen. When you log in to your My Samford portal and click on the One Stop tab and follow the prompts to be able to review your financial package, you'll see scholarships and grants if you're eligible listed there at the top. And what you'll notice is they're already accepted on your behalf. We are legally allowed to do that because those are funds that do not have to be repaid. And so we know that those are funds that our students definitely say yes to. But in the lower section of the screen, as you can see there, I know the font is a bit small, but hopefully you can see where there might be federal work study and student loans offered. They will be offered because work study is a self-help type of aid. You have to choose to accept it and then secure an on-campus student employee job and work to earn those funds gradually. And then student loans obviously having to be repaid, that is a choice that you and those helping you financially will make. And so if you don't accept those loans, there's no risk of wrongful indebtedness. They move nowhere. But if you do need that assistance and you choose to accept your loans, please know that there are additional steps. We'll talk about those in just a moment. But first, I quickly want to give a little more information about each of those types of aid that I mentioned, just so that you're able to have a little more frame of reference as you're making these decisions if you've not already. So again, scholarships are awarded based off of your merit. Those have already been awarded. You may sometimes be eligible for grants through the state or the federal government. Some that people are familiar with are the Pell Grant or the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. So just know that when you submit the FAFSA, we are provided information that lets us know if you're eligible, and if you are, our system will automatically award that to you. But not every student's eligible for grants. Most students are eligible for federal work study. Federal work study is a wonderful program. It allows you to work about 10, no more than 20 hours a week, built around your class schedule, because we prioritize you as a student first and student employee second, where you can earn typically minimum wage for doing usually clerical type work, assisting, office administrative assistants or receptionists with day-to-day tasks. A great way to create and build a resume if you've not already, or just to add to your resume if you already have. Again, working around your schedule, letting you work 10 to 20 hours and earn that minimum wage, sometimes higher depending on the job itself, gradually. So know that, and we'll talk about this again in a moment, when you're comparing your student account to your student financial aid, if you have been offered work study and you're choosing to accept it, it'll prompt you to connect with student employment and pursue applying for positions, and supervisors on campus will reach out to you and request an interview to make sure that your schedule works well with their needs and that it's a great fit and that you're qualified. And if you're offered the position, they'll work with you to build your schedule around your class schedule and help you start earning. But those earnings come to you in a biweekly paycheck. Every 2 weeks, you'll be paid for the time you've worked the previous 2 weeks. And so this is money that does not credit to your student account, and it depends on your working as to how much of it you earn. So for most students awarded work study, they're offered $2,000. And so just know that when you're comparing your bill to your financial aid, you'll want to exclude that $2,000 from the equation, because it's not guaranteed, it's earned, and it's received gradually. Now, of course, if you've signed up for a payment plan and you've worked things out with whomever's helping you financially, you can certainly turn around and make payment toward your student account as you earn those biweekly paychecks. It can still help you with these expenses. It just doesn't pay all at once or pay directly. And then as far as student loans go, right now, the federal government is offering a fixed rate on subsidized and unsubsidized student loans at 6.39%. And with the current economy and it being a non-credit based, non-collateral backed loan, that is actually very fair right now compared to the overall market. Certainly, you may be able to get a lower fixed rate with comparable repayment terms through your bank or credit union. And we'll talk about that a bit more when we talk about private loans. So by no means do you have to accept these loans. In fact, if you don't need them, we encourage you not to accept them. But if you find yourself needing them to help invest in your education and complete your bill, just know that the subsidized loan does not accrue interest as long as you're enrolled half-time fall and spring. You're not required to repay the loan itself, and the interest that will begin accruing after you exit school, usually dropping below half-time withdrawing, but hopefully graduating. So if you go all the way through 4 years and graduate, about 30 days after graduation is when that interest will start accruing, but you're not required to repay the loan until 6 months after you exit. There's a pretty nice grace period to let you hopefully begin your work as a professional and start earning, and then repay the loan. And there is a standard 10-year repayment timeline for that, but no penalty to pay off early. So if you've been offered a subsidized loan and you're feeling that you need that additional help to complete your bill, just know that it can be a great way for you to establish your credit, to build your credit. It's not going to accrue interest while you're enrolled in school at least half time. If you go straight through to graduation, it will begin accruing interest about a month after you graduate, but you'll have the next 10 years after your 6-month grace period to repay that loan, but no penalty for early payoff. So we have some students that will accept the loan so that it establishes their credit. They, with the help of a parent or someone who's helping them financially, will go ahead and pay it off before they ever graduate, before it ever accrues any interest. We have other students that need those funds to complete their bill. They're not able to make payment while they're in school, but after graduation and securing employment, they'll begin repaying that loan, and some pay it off early and save themselves some interest in the long run, and others need the full 10 years. And we know, we see other information in the media as well. There are some alternative or extended repayment terms as well, and some have to take advantage of that also. The unsubsidized loan is the other type of federal student loan that's offered, and for some students that might be the only one that they're eligible for. It is the non-need based loan. So when you submit that FAFSA, if FAFSA determines there's not a need, every student who submits the FAFSA and completes that process will in the very least be offered an unsubsidized student loan. It has that same fixed interest rate of 6.39%. The difference is the interest does begin accruing 30 days after it pays to the student's account, and will continue to accrue every 30 days through the duration of the loan until it's fully paid off. So we do encourage our students who borrow that loan to work to try and at least pay the interest while they're in school, but we understand that's not always possible and it's not required. But 6 months after exiting, that loan does have to be repaid with all of the interest that has accumulated and there forward. Again, on a standard 10-year repayment plan with no penalty for early payoff. With that said, if a student is choosing to accept a student loan, there are some additional requirements, and these are also completed at studentaid.gov. The student goes back to studentaid.gov, logs in with his or her FSA user ID. So parents, I'm a parent as well. I know how much we help them, and it's all with good intentions and good and right. But just be careful, because I know you have an FSA user ID from having completed or help them complete your portion of their FAFSA and submit it. So just know that if your student is accepting a student loan, you want to make sure your student is the one logging back in at studentaid.gov with the student login credentials, since those student loans are in their name and will be on their credit. But once the student is logged in, they'll complete entrance counseling and an electronic master promissory note. The entrance counseling is an interactive tool where they read and respond to show that they are reading and understanding their rights and responsibilities as a student loan borrower. It helps them understand what's happening with their loans while in school, as well as after they leave school and start repayment. It essentially shares with you what I've just shared, but with a lot more detail. And once they complete that, they'll get a confirmation and it will be sent to Samford. And then the electronic master promissory note is exactly that. It's their agreement to repay their loan or loans. And once that is separately submitted at studentaid.gov using the student's FSA login credentials, it will also be sent to us. Once those two items are on record here at Samford, along with that accepted loan, then we'll be able to allow it to pay to or authorize to your student's account, or at the appropriate time pay to your student's account. So if you know your student has accepted a loan but you're not seeing it authorized, there's a little concern there. It may be that one or both of these have not been completed, and so we'd encourage you just to go back to studentaid.gov and complete that if not already done. And if you're not certain, you can certainly check in with your student's one-stop advisor. All right, so we have those bills out there, the student account out there to view, and we've talked about the financial aid process, hopefully giving a little more detail than I was able to give during Bulldog Days. But really where those two come together is comparing them, right? We want you to look at your student's total charges for the term. We recognize that a few things still have not yet been added, like the parking fee, maybe some other miscellaneous fees if they're going to join Greek Life, something of that nature. But for the most part, at least tuition and those major fees like university fee and dorm room and meal plan should be listed there. If you're not seeing something you expect, certainly reach out to your one-stop advisor and they can look into that for you. But hopefully you're seeing those charges, and that is just for the fall term. When you compare that to your student's financial aid package, remember that aid package is for fall and spring. So all of those items typically are split into two equal halves. So if you see a scholarship for $5,000, it's likely $2,500 for the fall semester, $2,500 for the spring semester. So just make sure as you're comparing the fall bill to the financial aid package, you're comparing it just to the fall half of that financial aid package. Remember to exclude work study, again, because that's gradually earned as the student works and receives a biweekly paycheck. But if you compare those two, again, the fall bill compared to the fall financial aid that's been accepted, less work study, and you see that there's more than enough aid. Maybe if you've already been moving through this process and working with your one-stop advisor and even gone the next step of pursuing a parent loan or something like that, which we'll talk about in a moment, to fully complete that bill. If you're seeing that, yes, we've definitely got the bill covered. In fact, it looks like we've got more than what is needed. Just know that outside of Samford scholarships, anything in excess of what is owed, we will refund to the student. And so your student can log into their portal and sign up for a direct deposit or electronic refund. The student has to be the one to sign up, but it can be a shared or joint account so that you, as the parent or authorized user, can keep an eye on that and help them manage that. But again, anything beyond Samford scholarships in excess of what is owed, once that balance is zero, would be refunded to the student. We automatically refund state and federal aid because law requires it. If it's some other type of benefit, the student will need to reach out to their one-stop advisor and ask for the refund, because some students prefer we leave that credit on their account to help with the next term, if not an additional charge that may appear. So just let the one-stop advisor know what is needed, and we will certainly be here to help you all with that. But for those that are maybe not fully through the process or have completed the full process but not yet decided how to cover that gap, again, where you're comparing that bill to that financial aid and you're realizing that there's actually not enough, even looking at scholarships, maybe some grants and student loans that you've decided to accept, and still the two ends aren't meeting, which is unfortunately the case for most families, just with the cost comparison to what financial aid is available through the initial FAFSA submission. Just know that we are here to help with two additional loan options. So if your student is considered a dependent student and you are the contributor, you're listed on the FAFSA, you can use your FSA login credentials, go back to studentaid.gov and apply for a Parent Plus loan if you desire. The Parent Plus loan is a credit-based loan, and when you apply, you'll find out immediately if you are approved. And if you are approved, you can borrow up to your student's total costs, less their other financial assistance, to help complete that bill. That amount should be more than enough to complete the bill, and again, probably even give some additional funding back to you to help with those indirect costs that aren't on the bill, like books and supplies and other miscellaneous educational life expenses. If for some reason you are denied based upon your credit, please have your student reach out to their one-stop advisor. Know that we are professional. We hold all of this information with the utmost confidence, and we are here to help you. So I know that sometimes it can feel a little bit daunting to have to email or call and say I was denied for a loan, but we are here to serve you, and we're not here passing judgment on that. We're regular folks with our own finances and financial struggles as well. So we want you to let us know if that's the case, because it's not a completely closed door. For students who have a parent apply for a PLUS loan and who unfortunately are not approved, that student then can request additional unsubsidized loan funding that the government says they become eligible for when their parent cannot assist them. It's not much, I'll be honest. It usually doesn't fully close in the gap, but every little bit helps. So just know, if approved, you can borrow what you need. Typically, it's enough to get things squared away. If denied, not a completely closed door. It does give your student a bit more access to some additional unsubsidized loan funding, and we can help them through the process of securing those funds if desired. And then we can work from there if it's still not enough, to try and figure out how to make the ends meet. And then the other option is a private student loan. So whereas the Parent Plus loan is in the parent's name, that's sitting on their credit, they're responsible for repaying that loan. And by the way, I want to mention that that loan has an 8.94% interest rate. It is fixed for the lifetime of the loan. While it's a bit higher, even though it's credit-based, it is, again, because it's not collateral backed. And so if you choose to borrow, know that for this year, this upcoming year, this particular loan, that interest rate, again, would be fixed at 8.94%. Interest does begin accruing 30 days after the loan pays to the student's account, because it processes through and pays to their account directly, just like their financial aid. That's a convenience of borrowing this type of loan. But once it pays 30 days later, it begins accruing that interest, and you are required to start repayment 60 days after that second disbursement. Typically, parents borrow fall and spring, and so after that spring disbursement, 60 days later, that's when you begin repaying the loan. If you apply for the loan and are approved, it prompts you to complete a master promissory note, and through that master promissory note, you can choose to defer the repayment of the loan until your student exits, drops below half-time withdrawals, or graduates. So while ideally, financially, that's not necessarily a best case scenario or best practice, it certainly at least gives you some time to figure out how you're going to go about making sure you can repay that loan. It does have a standard 10-year repayment timeline with no penalty for early payoff, and again, can be deferred while the student is still in school. But obviously recommended to go ahead and make that payment if possible. So the private loan is actually in the student's name, not in the parent's name, but it's likely going to require a co-borrower because it is credit-based, and most undergraduate students don't yet have an established credit, and so that bank or credit union is going to want that loan application to have a co-borrower. So that's where a parent, but doesn't have to be a parent, it can be someone else that has agreed to assist the student, can co-borrow. And if approved, that will then process through to us as well. So you go to your bank or credit union's website, you click on their private student loan option. You can read about their terms and conditions because it does vary between bank and credit union. Many are comparable to this parent loan and to the student loans we've already discussed. But not always. Typically, they do have a higher interest rate. It can be varied rather than fixed, and often their repayment terms are shorter. So it can be a little heavier lift of a loan, which is why unless someone is not wanting to submit a FAFSA, not wanting to use federal aid, they'll typically go toward the parent loan over the private loan. But it is your choice, and we're here to help either way. We cooperate with every bank and credit union who has a private student loan program. And so if you apply, if your student applies and is approved, that information will be sent to Samford, and we will work with that bank or credit union to get those funds secured in here and applied to your student's account. So either way, we are here definitely to serve you through whatever decision is best for you and your family. I do want to mention quickly in reference to the student loans I've already discussed, and again, this Parent Plus loan, those fixed rates that I mentioned, that's fixed for the loan annually. That rate can change from year to year based off the Treasury bill. So if you borrow a parent loan this year, the loan interest rate for that particular loan is fixed again at 8.94%. Next year, if you borrow the same loan, it will also have a fixed rate, but it may be slightly higher, could be the same, or slightly lower depending on the Treasury bill. And I know there's a lot being said right now with the new law that has just passed and some changes that are coming to student aid, but those are in effect July 1, 2026, so it does not impact this year. And there are provisions for those that are already borrowing through those programs ahead of July 1, 2026. So I just want to give you that encouragement and ease to know that those things that you are seeing discussed in the media, while very important, are not impacting this current year. And there are provisions for those that are already borrowing ahead of July 1, 2026 that will allow them to continue to borrow in the same way. Most of those provisions are for at least 3 years. So for most, they'll be able to have their student graduate before there are really implications for that. And we're here to help talk through those things more as we find out more as well, but hopefully can give that bit of encouragement in the moment. I do quickly want to talk about these other miscellaneous items. We are very near our hour, and I'm very mindful of our time, especially because I know most of us are tuning in on our lunch break, and so I don't want to cause you to have to clock back in late. So I'll probably go pretty quickly through these final slides, but again, any questions can certainly be sent to us, and we are happy to answer them. But again, when your student is enrolled here with us, especially after drop add week, that first week of classes, if they make enrollment changes, there are financial impacts. And more times than not, unfortunately, it feels like a negative impact because there are lots of laws that govern the way that we can adjust charges when someone changes their enrollment and in turn financial aid. So if your student reaches out to you and says, you know, this class I think is just not working out, I'm going to need to drop it, that's understandable. We're human and we have to consider all things, our personal health and well-being with the things that we're working through. There's obviously the academic priority, of course. When it comes to the classes they're in, that's first and foremost, but just be aware that there is a financial component. And so we encourage you to have your student or you on your student's behalf reach out to the one-stop advisor and just try to find out what's going to happen if that course is dropped. And then certainly if they're needing to withdraw from the full semester, definitely reach out to us. We know, again, sometimes personally, academically, it's what's best, regardless of the financial outcome, but we at least want to have those conversations with you so that you can be prepared to know what may come after that withdrawal. Again, we do have tuition insurance that we offer through a third-party partner that's well-founded, been around a very long time, and served our students and families for a very long time. That's GradGuard. You can find more information about them on our webpage or through your one-stop advisor. But for roughly $110, you can have $10,000 worth of coverage, and it goes up from there. So that if you do find yourself in a situation where your student's needing to withdraw, you'll at least, upon providing some documentation to GradGuard, be able to recover that tuition investment that you've made. And for those families that have worked with them, the feedback that I've gotten has been very positive, that the process has not been tedious or complicated, and that they have gotten the benefit that they paid for. So I do want to give you that encouragement that we have had families, unfortunately, have to use the tuition insurance that they invested in, but they were pleased in the way that they went through that process and had successful outcomes. So I hope that that is positive information as you consider that benefit. Because again, we are required, even though we're the financial folks on campus, we are required to monitor students' academic progress, the completion of their classes, their GPA, and there are rules and laws that we are bound by to continue their financial aid moving forward. So while dropping a class one semester may end up not having a negative impact, and that's always great, in the here and now, maybe their bill is not adjusted, they aren't losing financial aid, and it feels like it's a safe thing for them to go ahead and drop that class, especially if it's best for them personally or academically. The flip side of that is the government has us look at that cumulatively along the way, and so they have a minimum completion rate. So number of courses attempted need to be completed. And they also have a minimum required GPA, which coincides with the school's minimum GPA. And so we want to make sure our students are continuing to complete their courses and maintain at least that minimum GPA so that they can continue to receive aid. So again, it's not just important for the immediate moment and semester, but beyond. So if your student's needing to make changes, we're here with grace and understanding as real people who have to change our minds about things too. But we just want to be able to at least give you that financial information so you can be prepared and budget as you have that kind of residual outcome and impact financially. All right, well, we are near the end of our presentation. I'm quickly going to flash up our important dates and deadlines. You'll see there we're closest to August 5th. It's right around the corner. That is, again, when the 5 installment payment plan closes. Shortly after that, the first statement will be released. So have your student watching their Samford email. And if you're signed up as an authorized user, watch that email that you've assigned. And we will let you know when that's available. Remember, it's just a snapshot in time. You can log into that financial portal 24/7 real time and see what's happening, because as soon as we send those statements out, unfortunately things change, and so really the safest place is to log into the financial portal. But it's great to have that statement as a record, especially once that balance is zero. We'll keep sending it to you each month just so that you have that confirmation that it's still zero, nothing's been added, like a parking citation or something of that nature. And then not far after that, we have move-in day and first day of class and all those dates thereafter. And just know the One Stop's here and we're ready to help. Again, I know we're a little bit tougher to reach this time of year, it feels like, but I promise you we're here and working steadily to help all of you, and we appreciate your patience again. I do want to quickly share this financial aid checklist. If I had to summarize this whole presentation in seven points, I would say File your FAFSA at studentaid.gov if you've not already. Make sure you've completed all of your outstanding requirements. So check your Samford email and make sure you're watching for things for the one stop. And then if you want to accept your work study, go ahead and log in to your portal and make that decision. And make the decision about loans as well if you want to accept or decline. If you do choose to accept your student loans, don't forget about those 2 extra requirements at studentaid.gov. They're easily missed. So make sure you complete your entrance counseling and your master promissory note for your subsidized and or unsubsidized loan. It's one and the same. And so you'll complete those 2 separate items for, again, the sub and or unsub loan. And then make sure to compare your student bill to your financial aid. Make sure to only look at the fall half of that financial aid and see how those ends meet. And of course, if the ends are not meeting, we want to encourage you to contact your one-stop advisor. Here are their email addresses. You can reach out with your questions there, and they are going to respond as quickly as they can to help you figure things out. As long as we have things figured out and squared away before September 2nd, then you have everything in order for the fall term, and we'll do it again each term after that. We're here the whole time for you as you're headed in, while you're here, and even after you leave if you need help with loan repayment. We're here for that too. But we certainly want to try to make what we know is a stressful piece of this Samford experience as seamless and smooth as possible, and try to provide grace and encouragement along the way. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here and we're ready to help you. And with that said, we're ahead of the hour, so I hope that gives you a second to catch your breath before you jump back in at work or wherever you may be. Again, it was truly a pleasure to be here with you today. I hope the additional information was helpful, and if you found yourself in a certain place along the way and realize there's still more things to do, that is absolutely fine. We're here to help you do that. And we're looking forward to seeing our students and everyone helping them move in very soon. So I wish you all well. We'll probably see each other soon. And thank you again for your support of the Samford One Stop. Bye-bye.